Hello, my name is Professor Shiladitya Rakshit. Introduction to Public Interest Litigation. Learning Outcomes. To give students an understanding of origin, evolution and development of the process of public interest litigation in India. By the end of the lecture, students will have understanding of the concept of the public interest litigation and its role in the protection and promotion of human rights. Introduction. Meaning of the concept of public interest litigation, PIL. As we have seen in the previous module, judiciary as one of the wings of the state has a critical role in the protection of human rights. It is entrusted with the responsibility of safeguarding human rights in the light of constitutional mandate. The higher judiciary is the custodian of rights under the Indian Constitution. The major contribution of judiciary to human rights jurisprudence have been twofold. The substantive expansion of the concept of human rights under Article 21 of the Constitution and the procedural innovation of public interest litigation. We will take up both the above aspects for a detailed examination in the current module and in the following 3 modules. One of the overarching aims of the law and the legal systems has been to achieve justice in the society, and public interest litigation, PIL, has proved to be a useful tool in achieving this objective. The phrase public law litigation was first prominently used by the American academic Abraham Cheye to describe the practice of lawyers or public-spirited individuals who seek to secure social change through court-ordered decrees that reform legal rules, enforce existing laws, and articulate public norms. Public interest litigation is a product of time and circumstances. It did not spring from any specific constitutional provision or legislative code, generally through affirmative action in cases where the general public or ascertainable sections of the public are aggrieved. Public interest litigation in India is primarily judge-led and even to some extent judge-induced, the product of juristic and judicial activism on our Supreme Court. The term public interest means the larger interests of the public, general welfare and interest of the masses. Oxford English Dictionary, 2nd edition, volume 12. And the word litigation means a legal action including all proceedings therein initiated in a court of law with the purpose of enforcing a right or seeking a remedy. According to Black's Law Dictionary, public interest litigation means a legal action initiated in a court of law for the enforcement of public interest or general interest in which the public or class of the community has pecuniary interest or some interest by which their legal rights or inabilities are affected. In simple words, public interest litigation means any public spirited citizen can move/approach the court for the public causes, for public interest, for public welfare by filing a petition in the Supreme Court under Article 32 of the Constitution or in the High Court under Article 226 of the Constitution or before the court in magistrate under Section 133 of the Code of Criminal Procedure 1973. Over the last 3 decades or so, the devis of public interest litigation has come to be recognized as a characteristic feature of the higher judiciary in India. PIL has played a major role in the facilitation of human rights. From time to time, courts have made significant pronouncements on a variety of issues such as prisons and prisoners, the police, the armed forces, children, child labor, bonded labor, urban space, environment and resources, consumer issues, education, politics, elections, public policy and accountability, etc. 3. Constitutional basis for public interest litigation. Part 3 of the Indian Constitution enumerates a Bill of Rights within Article 12 to 32. The development of the concept of PIL has been made possible by the expansive interpretation given by the Supreme Court of India to Article 21 of the Constitution. This article reads as follows: "No person shall be deprived of his life or personal liberty except according to the procedure established by law." In Maneka Gandhi vs. Union of India, the Supreme Court took the view that the right to life in Article 21 included all the aspects of life which combined to make human life meaningful, complete, and worth living. The right to life, it said, encompassed a right to all these components which together make up life, such as tradition, culture, and heritage. By the construction of Article 21, the Supreme Court has become, as it were, the judicial arbiter of the entire corpus of rights which determines the quality of human living. It is an enormous responsibility, but one which the Court considers essential to the promotional modern welfare of society. Article 13 provides that any laws which are inconsistent with the Constitution are void, while Article 13 does not directly speak of the Supreme Court of India having the power to declare the law unconstitutional. This has been taken to be the structural assumption of the Constitution, and in particular of Articles 13 and 32. Article 14 enshrines the equal protection of the laws and equality before the law, and later set this out more detail in specific areas. Article 19 is one of the most fundamental rights, safeguarding freedom of speech, association, assembly, the right to move and reside within the territories of India and to practice any trade or profession. The right to life and liberty is enshrined in Article 21, while subsequent articles deal with more specific application of the same type of problem. Articles 25 to 27 cover religious freedoms, and Articles 28 to 30 protect cultural minorities, whereas Part 3 of the Constitution is entitled Fundamental Rights. Part 4 deals with directive principles of state policy. Article 37 states especially that the principles of Part 4 are not enforceable in any court, but affirms that they are nonetheless fundamental to the governance of the country, and the article imposes an obligation on the state to comply with these principles when making laws. Thus, Article 38 directs the state to reduce inequalities in status and opportunity, and Article 39 mandates the distribution of society's resources must be such as to serve the common good. Subsequent articles in Part 4 flesh out their socio-economic obligations which the state must pursue with particular areas. 4. Aspects of PIL. 4.1 Locus Standi, Access and Standing. In Municipal Council Ratlam versus Vardichand and others, Krishna Iyer J. relaxed the rules of locus standi. He quoted, "The truth is that a few profound issues of processual jurisprudence of our great strategic significance to our legal system face us, and we must zero in on them as they involve problems of access to justice for the people beyond the blinkered rules of standing of British Indian heritage. If the center of gravity of justice to shift, as the preamble to the Constitution mandates, from the traditional individualism of locus standi to the community orientation of public instigation, these issues must be considered. Why drive common people to public action? Where directive principles have found statutory expression in the do's and don'ts, the court will not sit idly by and allow member government to become a statutory mockery. The law will relentlessly be enforced, and the plea of poor finance will be poor alibi where people in misery for justice. Public interest litigation or social interest litigation today has great significance and drew the attention of all concerned. The traditional rule of locus standi states, a person whose right is infringed alone can file a petition has been considerably relaxed by Supreme Court in recent decisions. Again, in S.P. Gupta versus the Union of India, the Supreme Court held that where a legal wrong or a legal injury is caused to a person or to a determinate class of persons by reasons of violation of any constitutional or legal right, or any burden is imposed in contravention of any constitutional or legal provision, or without authority of law, or any such legal wrong or legal injury or illegal burden is threatened, and any such person or determinate class of persons by reasons of poverty or disability or socially or economically disadvantaged position, unable to approach the court for relief, any member of the public or social action group can maintain an application for an appreciate direction order or writ in the High Court under Article 226, and case of breach of any fundamental right of such person or class of persons in Supreme Court under Article 32, seeking judicial redress for the wrong or injury caused to such person or determinate class of persons. Now, the court permits public interest litigation at the instance of the so-called public spirited citizens for the enforcement of constitutional and legal rights. Any public spirited citizen can now approach the court for the public cause in the interests of the public or public welfare by filing a petition. 1. In the Supreme Court under Article 32 of the Constitution of India. 2. In the High Court under Article 226 of the Indian Constitution. And 3. In the Court of Magistrate under Section 133 of the Code of Criminal Procedure. Thus, under PIL procedure, the court allows any member of the public acting in a bona fide manner to espouse the cause of such person or class of person representatives of non-political, non-profit and voluntary organizations who have a sufficient interest can maintain an action for judicial redress for public injury arising out of breach of public duty or violation of some provision of the Constitution. Lawyers, medical practitioners, and journalists have brought such representative actions, but the court has been careful to not liberalize the concept in criminal and service matters. The courts have also been careful to note that PIL cannot be maintained by a meddlesome interloper or busybody, wayfarers, or intervenes having no time interest except for personal gain, either for themselves or for the glare of publicity. 41.1 Remedial nature of PIL. It departs from traditional focus standi rules. It indirectly incorporated the principles enshrined in the Part 4 of the Constitution of India into Part 3 of the Constitution. By riding the aspirations of Part 4 into Part 3 of the Constitution, had changed the procedural nature of the Indian law into dynamic welfare 1. 41.2 Representative standing. It can be seen as a creative expansion of the well-accepted standing exception, which allows a third party to file a habeas corpus petition on the ground that the injured party cannot approach the court himself. PIL is a modified form of American concept class action. 41.3 Citizen standing. The doctrine of citizen standing thus marks a significant expansion of the court's rule from protector of individual rights to guardian of the rule of law wherever threatened by official lawlessness. 4.2 Procedural requirements. In order to permit the fuller access to courts, PIL has been marked by a departure from procedural rules extended to the form and manner of filing a writ petition, appointment of commissions for carrying out investigation and giving a report to court, and appointment of lawyers as amicus curiae to assist the court. 4.2.1 Filing. Public interest litigation petition is filed in the same manner as writ petition is filed. If a PIL is filed in a high court, then 2 copies of the petition have to be filed for Supreme Court, then 4 plus 1, that is 5 sets. Also, an advance copy of the petition has to be served on each respondent, that is opposite party, and this proof of service has to be affixed on the petition. 4.2.2 The procedure. A court fee of rupees 50 per respondent, that is for each number of party, court fee of rupees 50 has to be affixed on the petition proceedings in the PIL. Commence and carry on in the same manner as other cases. However, in between the proceedings, if the judge feels that they may appoint the commissioner to inspect allegations like pollution being caused, trees being cut down, sewer problem, etc. After filing of replies by opposite party or rejoinder by the petitioner, final hearing takes place and the judge gives his final decision, against whom public interest litigation can be filed. A public interest litigation can be filed against a state, central government, municipal authorities, and not any private party. According to Article 12, the term state includes the government and Parliament of India and the government and legislature of each of the states and all local and other authorities within the territory of India or under the control of the Government of India. In Electricity Board Rajasthan versus Mohan Lal, the Supreme Court held that other authorities would include all authorities created by the Constitution of India or statute on whom powers are conferred by law. However, private party can be included in the PIL as a respondent after making concerned state authority a party, but a PIL cannot be filed against the private party alone. Epistolary jurisdiction letter petitions. A public spirited person could move the court by writing a letter or a postcard or a telegram. The danger of such case of access litigant could indulge in forum shopping. Pathak J expressed this concern in the Bandhu Mukti Morcha case. When the jurisdiction of the court is invoked, it is jurisdiction of the entire court. No such communication can be properly addressed to a particular judge. Which judge or judges will hear the case is exclusively a matter concerning the internal regulation of the business of the court, interference with which where a litigant or a member of the public constitutes the greatest impropriety. On 1st December 1988, the Supreme Court on its administrative side issued notification on what matters could be entertained as PIL. Under this notification, letter petitions falling under certain categories alone would be ordinarily entertained. These included matters concerning bonded labor, neglected children, petitioners from prisoners, petitioners against the police, petitions against atrocities on women, children, and scheduled castes and scheduled tribes, etc. The notification also sets out the matter that ordinarily were not to be entertained as PIL, such as landlord-tenant dispute, service matters, admission to medical and other educational institutions. The notification also laid down the procedure. The petition first would be screened in the PIL call and thereafter it would be placed before a judge to be nominated with Honorable Chief Justice of India for directions. 4.4 Non-adversarial. In traditional adversarial system, the lawyers of each party are expected to present contending points of view to enable the judge to decide the issue for or against a party. In PIL, there are no winners or losers, and the mindset of both lawyers and judges can be different from that in ordinary litigation. The court, the parties, and their lawyers are expected to participate in resolution of a given public problem. It is a collaborative and cooperative effort for the purpose of making human rights meaningful in the weaker sections of community. 4.5 Amicus Curiae. A PIL petitioner is appointed by the court in order to draw attention towards the matter. This person has no personal stake in the matter. Court expects the spurious to be conscious of his or her obligations to the cause being examined and conducts him or herself accordingly. This person cannot withdraw the petition on their free will. The court may take over the conduct of the matter if it feels that in interstate of justice the issues should be decided irrespective of the wishes of the petitioner. The PIL petitioners may be inarticulate or may not be able to maintain the necessary detachment from the cause of PIL. In such case, the court may be better assisted by a lawyer who understands the legal dimensions of the issue and is objective in his or her approach towards the cause. The lawyers aiding the courts in such situations are called as amicus curiae. Senior advocates of Supreme Court have assisted as amicus curiae in several cases. Chief Justice Verma, speaking at a public function, eulogized the lawyer's role as amicus curiae in PIL cases in the following words: "It must be said to the credit of the bar, and this I say from personal experience over the years, the most busy lawyers who charge fees which I often openly criticize, if called upon to appear as amicus curiae any such matter, leave every other work and without charging a single rupee put in their best effort in a PIL matter. That credit is due to the bar. That is the beauty of the justice delivery system, and that goes to show that the legal profession has not yet become wholly mercenary. Professional remedies and professionalism is the essential trait of any such service-oriented enterprise." Appointment of Commissioner. The court appoints commissioners to help the PIL petitioners in cases where there is a lack of access to information. The court has appointed district judges, journalists, lawyers, mental health professionals, bureaucrats, etc. as commissioners in PIL cases. For example, in Indian Council for Enviro Legal Action versus Union of India, the court appointed NEERI as an expert body to study the situation of groundwater soil pollution. The power to appoint commissioners in matters of civil nature is found in Order 26 Civil Procedure Code and Order XL 6 Supreme Court Rules. The powers under Articles 32 and Articles 142 are wide enough to permit such a course of action in any matter before the Supreme Court. The commissioners help in proposing remedial relief and monitor its implementation. Conclusion. PIL has produced astonishing results which were unthinkable 2 decades ago. Degraded bonded laborers, torture under trial prisoners and women prisoners, humiliated inmates of protecting women's homes, blinded prisoners, exploited children, beggars and many others have been given relief through judicial intervention. The greatest contribution of PIL has been to enhance the accountability of the government towards the human rights of the poor. However, the judges sitting alone cannot provide effective responses to state lawlessness, but they can surely seek a culture formation where political power becomes increasingly sensitive to human rights. When people's rights are invaded by dominant elements, PIL emerges as a medium of struggle for protection of the human rights. The legitimacy of PIL enjoys in the Indian legal system is unprecedented. PIL activism integrates power and makes the courts as people's court. Thank you.